Man, I just don't understand. So let me see if any of this other stuff is working today, because that'd be great.
And now your hosts back from Dunkin' Donuts.
It's science.
Just a bit outside.
It's such a shame you can't see what finger I'm holding up.
Oh, that's gonna give me some hate mail.
Shut up! Just a bit outside.
All right, all that shit sounds good. But can I see anything? That is the next question. So it looks like I can. Should be nice. Live solo. Yeah, there's the pictures. Nope, don't need that. Oh, shit. Yes, I do. Oh, sweet mother of God. So where, oh where? Is the camera not fucking working again? No, it's working, so now I have to figure out why it's not working here. Never a fucking dull moment. Never. Sources and shit. It's really just not hearing it today. I can't even understand. Like, I have no idea why it's not working. It works on one, and then it doesn't work on the other, and what the hell? That's just too funny. Let's see. Nothing there. Yeah, so this should all be working. And it's not, so I guess I'll just, all that friggin' work I did on the pictures this week, show pictures, it just sucks. I can still do it there. I just don't understand why it's not showing anything. So let's remove this. See if I can add it again, maybe. Try that. See if that works. That's not fucking working. At all. Yeah. I got none. But this one's working, so that's what matters. I'll just have to use this one. It just sucks. That sucks so bad. That's going to bother me now. I got to fiddle with this for a minute or so. Because this is just going to bug the shit out of me. The fact that I can't understand why it's not showing. And I know if I do something stupid like shut off the camera or plug it out, unplug it and plug it back in, it's going to screw up the other one. Then I'll be back to square one, and I don't want to do that. All right. If I choose. Yeah, see, it doesn't even know if I choose a different one. Do a source 3. Yeah, none of this is. Yeah, this is all bullshit. What is the mic stopped working now? Can't catch a break.
Oh, that's going to give me some hate.
That's still working. Turn up my mic a little bit so I can at least see what's going on. And I'm just going to see. All right. Is intermission one working by any chance, or is that fucking broke too? Yeah, but I'm not going to even do intermission because I can't play a fucking song anymore. You know what? Fuck it. 5, 4.
It's time for BGFG.
Gonads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done. Great. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Fenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick FreeMo.
Oh, yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
And now,
Like
one day of not going to Dunkin' and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cooler.
And now, the two guys that took 2 years to fix their audio problems.
Welcome to BGFG, episode 338. I'm your host, Chris Fenix, and unfortunately not joining me this week is Mr. FreeMo Z, and that is because Mr. FreeMo Z is actually in Death Valley helping the indigenous creatures there get food, water, and nourishment and what they need since it's been so damn hot down there. He's such a thoughtful person, I'll tell you. Thoughtful. He absolutely is. And I am here this week amongst all audio problems. Kind of glad FreeMo didn't make it this week because I've had such an amount of audio issues. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's a tough call. You know, it's as a tech person, you can't figure out exactly what it is. And you kind of don't want to ask other people right away because you want to figure it out yourself. It's a slippery slope because then you end up just getting a headache and having to put your glasses on and turn on the lights and all that happy horse shit. So we get a good show this week for everybody. And unfortunately, those people that are going to be and the little noise that you hear is going to be the air conditioner because it's hot as hell. And I turned off all the other air conditioners and the fans. And it's still hot in the studio. But anyway, I can at least get some air from the air conditioner. If you happen to hear it in the background, I apologize. So we have a good size show. Again, it's one of those situations where we can't play music anymore on the live video. So the music is going to be skipped on the YouTube part. But again, the music will be on the podcast part. So if you want to hear the music that we're going to mention, you have to download the podcast, which I encourage you to do anyway. I feel that this is the way the show is designed. As for the video on YouTube, I again apologize. Huge issues before we even started the show, stuff that just doesn't simply make sense at all. And right now I have the video working, which is great, but unfortunately all the pictures that I usually show with the stories are not going to be there. Again, apologize. Next week should be better. Got close to doing it on the Monday, on the day of, like I usually say, but again, didn't quite get there. But I'm trying. We're getting closer. We're getting there. I promise you. All right, so we got a lot to talk about. There's good news, there's bad news, there's weird news, there's some computer news, and we're going to talk about a couple of things that should make you chuckle. So let's get into this week's news.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So on the good news side, President Biden is going to make the right to repair law a thing, which is nice. He's going to direct the FTC to draft new regulations to empower consumers to repair devices on their own. So what this means is, for instance, Apple for a long time, if you can go to a mall kiosk and get a new screen for probably half the price that you could from Apple, but it's not a genuine repair. So as soon as you do that, number one, your warranty is voided. Secondly, a lot of times these screens are really subpar. Now, Apple's excuse is that you're getting subpar parts, which is not untrue. The right to repair people are saying, look, I should be able to put whatever screen on there. If I can only afford that screen, then that's what I'm going to do to get by for now. In the middle there, in the murk in the middle, is that Apple's correct. It's a subpar screen. We see it at work all the time. You can tell just by shining a flashlight in it. It's a subpar screen. But unfortunately, they constrain their supply chain so tightly that you can't get an official product. You can get these kind of these off. I don't want to say gray, because gray is more the third party. Hey, it works type thing. But you want, dare I say, black market really, because these are usually the official screens that aren't necessarily stamped official, but they came out of the factory and somebody smuggled them out. Basically, a worker put them in their shoe or bra or underwear or something, and snuck out with the screens in there, and they make pretty good money on them. And a lot of people do, and you can't really catch everybody all the time. So I see Apple's points where you're talking about substandard parts. But if I can get an official screen, That's just one example. There's so many other examples that as soon as you open a product, it's immediately voided or the warranty is void. I don't necessarily agree with that. You should be going to the manufacturer for a lot of things. But if I know there's a bad hard drive and I know how, whatever device it is, it's a bad hard drive and I know how to clone that particular hard drive or pull the data or reload the data from it and put a new hard drive in, I should be allowed to do that and not be charged $300, $400 to go have it done. A local mom and pop, this is why you don't see those local mom and pop repair shops anymore, because they've basically been squeezed out of business, really, for lack of a better term. You can't really get screens anywhere, or really good screens. The people that are selling screens on eBay and such, a lot of them are really questionable. I know we used to get them before, and when you would get them, they're like half a millimeter too big. Like, a lot of the tolerances are not adhered to or watched. So, and there's no quality control. So it's really, and I know for a fact that there's a few places or a few people I know that get like ejected stuff. Like you might have a company that does 3 different inspections, and this one only failed the 3rd really hardcore inspection. The shit works, but it might be half a millimeter off if it's an LCD panel, or a 1/3 of a nanometer off, and it just doesn't fit right. Those have to go into the trash, but these people are actually selling them, and they do work. They're really official, but they might not be top quality. You should be able to do that. Your screens repair on your laptop should literally cost you $150 to $250. Really, it should. But there is just fleecing, and I've seen it all across the board, from big box stores to eBay to mom and pops, because mom and pops have to try to make money. You're talking $400, $500 for a screen. And then you need somebody halfway competent to actually do it. They need to be able to know how to open up a case. They need to be able to exchange the cords, the wires in it, put the LCD panel on. So there's a lot to it. It can be done, and it's really not that hard. But a lot of companies don't do it anymore because they send it to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer takes care of it. And it's all done official. But it costs. Apple doesn't have a repair cost under $500 that I know of for one of their computers. They just don't. I mean, I've seen a couple come through less than that, but man, it's just it's weird the way the right to repair thing is. You can't essentially do your own repair on a device, and this goes for cars. This goes for just about anything. It's turned into a real disposable society, and that's not really right. That just gets the fat cats getting fatter. That's all that is. You should have a computer that lasts 10 years, not 3. And a lot of manufacturers are coming out now saying 3 to 5 years. That's really not right. But the Right to Repair Act, believe it or not, is actually geared toward farmers. Individual states have tried to pass the right to repair bills, and the big corporations and big box companies and such have all gone in there and said no, and lobbied against it because they want the price, the fee. A good example is Caterpillar, John Deere, and Apple. Really, those 3 make it the worst. They claim letting people fix their shit will put them at risk. Put who at risk? You or me? Put me at risk? Well, if I put in a screen and it friggin' works, that's not a risk. I mean, it was a risk for me to try to do it myself, but it worked. I used to do this stuff with older cell phones, flip phones, things like that. I replaced screens. I would do whatever I needed to do to get a phone that worked. I can't tell you how many times. And again, part of this might be those of us that have grown up poor or lower middle class poor. You'll get it where you can't afford a lot of things. So when something breaks, you finally get a computer. Your parents saved up for that computer. You are going to milk everything out of that computer. If something breaks, you're going to figure out a way to find something that'll make it work. It's not a disposable. It wasn't a disposable society, and you sure as hell didn't have disposable money to be able to replace stuff willy-nilly whenever you felt like it. But you should be able to, fix your own products if you want, or you have the know-how, or you want to try. Farmers, more importantly, should be able to fix their own machinery. They're fucking farmers. This is what you do. When that tractor broke, you friggin' fixed it. That was what you did. The longer that tractor's down, the less money you make. It's pros and cons. It's a good cable contractors is another example I'm familiar with. Cable contractors have their own vehicle. If that vehicle has a flat, you need to get that tire off that truck, go get it repaired, and get it back on the truck, because time is money. Every single job that you have that day, 15, 20, 25 jobs that you have that day is money. And if your truck is down, you can't just sit there and go, oh, you know what? I want to call AAA and have it towed to my local shop. And my local shop do it. No, bullshit. You're going to call a friend or an Uber. You're going to jack up that truck with the scissor jack that came with it. You're going to pull off that tire. You're going to take it to the closest gas station. Shit, if you can see one, you're going to roll that shit over there. You're going to get it patched. Not replaced, patched if you can for now. Get that shit patched. You're going to put it back on the truck. You're going to finish out your day and then either drop it off someplace or go pick up a tire someplace. That's what you're going to do. Time is money. And farmers are not able to do that right now. This is the reason. This is, so many reasons. I can't remember where I read. John Deere wanted to charge some guy for the computer terminal in the truck. Now, naturally, he's not a computer whiz. He's not going to reprogram it. He just basically wants the unit and the wire and harness is already there. All he's going to do is get another unit and plug it in. And they would simply not let him do that. And apparently there's one particular tractor that the unit, one of the display units, fails often, usually under weather. Weather don't matter to a farmer. So they couldn't replace it. They wanted to order it from John Deere. They're like, I don't care how much it costs. Let me just get one and I'll have it installed. I have a mechanic here on site. They'll take it off. It was 4 screws or 4 bolts. Take it off the housing and just plug it into the new harness. It's just that simple. And they just won't let it do it. And it's sad. It's sad that we have to come to the point where the president actually has to say something to our lawmakers to try to get something done for farmers that have been struggling nonstop. Look up some documentaries, people. Farmers struggle like you would not believe. It's just not. And all these wispy fucks that turn around and want to have, oh, I can't wait. I want to own a small farm and just that way we can provide for ourselves. Nobody expects that shit. Let me tell you something. Nobody. There's a lot of farms around where I live, and nobody expects that shit. It's a lot different when you're going out there to eat. When you're hungry and you're going to go out there with Dad, and Dad's about to chop off the head of one of those rabbits that you got in that little kennel. Sure, you can have the rabbits, and he told you not to get close to them and don't name them and stuff like that. But here we are. It's the same thing with, cattle or a lamb or something. There's a lot of these instances. So farmers are literally the hardest working people in this country, in my opinion. Watch some documentaries and you'll see how tough it is. But the Right to Repair Act needs to pass so we can get repairs and we can start mom and pop shops again. It'll be great. I mean, I would love to own one. Speaking of repairs, one thing that you can do for yourself is update Windows, and you should do it soon because there's a little thing out there, a little piece of malware, virus, Trojan, whatever you want to call it. Not really a virus, called Print Nightmare. And this is an exploit that attacks Windows printer spool services. Windows printer spool is constantly running. It's how it remembers what it's about to print, for lack of a better term. That's what it does. And it attacks the spool, and there's an exploit in the spool, which is, look, the spool is always running by default. Remote code can give an attacker wide access to the computer. You're basically in the computer at that point. And instead of waiting, it's bad, but instead of waiting until Patch Tuesday, it's so important and bad enough that it's pushed out already. So if you haven't hit the update on your computer, in your Windows computer, you can hit the Windows key on your keyboard. You can type in the word update. And one of the first things it will say check for updates. Click on that and then check for updates. Whatever it says to do. You should do this once a month, period. That's a thing you should be doing. Tell you again, hit the Windows key, type in the word update. Click on check for updates. When you get to check for updates window in the settings that opens, click check. Big gray button. Check now. Check it and always do whatever it tells you to do. Now, there's a lot of debate out there, because you'll see below it, it'll say optional updates. There's a lot of debate on whether you should do those or not. I don't think you should. You're going to leave it to Microsoft. It's Microsoft's operating system. So you're going to leave it to Microsoft that if their operating system doesn't work well with or doesn't work yet with, say, a HP printer driver, then they're not going to allow you to download it. They're not going to put it in an automatic update. They're just not, because it's not ready yet. I've seen a lot of computer manufacturers, some of the lower end HP computers that still haven't gotten 21H2. And you can hit that button, or 21H1. you can hit that refresh button all you want. It's not gonna show it. I don't even know if it's listed under an optional because I don't usually hit the optional button, but it's still there. And this printer spool issue, this shit's so bad, they even sent an update to Windows 7 machines. That's how bad it is. It's that bad. So get your update going, get it done, make yourself a little safer. And those that pull it up and find that you have about 3 hours of updates, don't be surprised you haven't done it. You need to do it. And here's something else that I found, news that's surprisingly isn't in the mainstream news. You know how much we love to do that here on BGFG. It's just something that we absolutely love to do. We're not saying that it's strange or anything. We're not saying that there's a problem with it or anything. We're just saying that sometimes news doesn't quite make it to the mainstream media and doesn't actually get talked about enough. It's strange. I'm not pointing any fingers, but it happens. So we talked a while ago on the show about the Jedi contract. Now, the Jedi contract is a contract that's given, essentially this round of Jedi contract was for the military, for cloud services. And it was a big hoo-ha because Amazon was going for it and Microsoft was going for it. Amazon got shut down basically by acting President Trump. He turned around and said that he wanted Microsoft to get it because Microsoft, of course, is in bed, as we've proven here on the show numerous times, that Microsoft is in bed with the government. President Trump wanted them to get it and also wanted to get a finder's fee, which I think is hysterical. But again, it didn't kind of work out like that, which is good. That's very good. It just strikes me as odd that 2 years after Trump made a mess out of this, with all the I want a finder's fee and all that, it's amazing that now the Pentagon has canceled the Jedi contract, completely canceled it. Even the Pentagon is coming out at this point and saying that Trump sullied the process so badly that they just can't do it. They have to restructure this whole contract because of a personal feud that apparently President Trump had with Jeff Bezos. This further delays much needed cloud support for our troops, which is extremely important for our troops. Can't even tell you. Now they're going to have multiple bidders on multiple contracts. I don't know if having multiple cloud services for the military is going to work out. I can see how they can do one per branch and keep them separate. That way they don't all get screwed if you get hacked or service goes down. I understand that completely. But I don't know if they're going to be able to intermingle. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. But I predict that what they're going to do with the contracts is get one for the Navy, one for the Marines, one for the Army, a specific one. That way they don't get confused, or one goes down, they all go down type thing. Like I said, it might be more hassle than it's worth. Another thing that wasn't in the news that kind of pisses me off is a lot of people don't know this, but there's an HIV vaccine trial that's starting in the UK. Like now, University of Oxford has started phase 1 of a possible HIV vaccine. This is fucking huge, people. Huge. The goal of the trial is to evaluate the safety, the tolerability of the vaccine itself. 13 people are going to be in the study, and this is for a preventative on non-HIV, as well as possibly a cure for the people currently living with HIV. That is massive news. Why are we not talking about it? Why? This is a phase 1 trial. That means this is legit shit, man. I mean, you don't take bullshit to any phase of vaccine trials. You don't. It's got to have some sort of proof, some sort of legs to it in order to even hit phase 1. And this is massive. Whether it stops it or cures people of it, either way, it's a plus. And I really think it's shitty that we don't hear about this stuff in the news. It's just a shame. Instead, we get to listen to Hoda talk about some a bullshit kettle or summer barbecue stuff. Some lady comes on and starts talking about summer barbecue and shit you want to have at the beach. Are you kidding me? Most of us middle-class people are lucky enough to get a friggin' vacation. And if we choose to go to the friggin' beach, it's like one day and we're playing on that shit. And then when we get there, the last thing we want to do is deal with your bullshit. And we certainly don't have like $400 to go buy a total cooler that does everything that you need. It It does you plug it in at night and it makes everything cold, and then you unplug it and it's good for 14 hours, and it's got a radio built in and it's got a charger built in. Who the cares, man? You're supposed to be going to the beach to just get some sun, enjoy the water, lay down, relax. I get really pissed off at the mainstream media news. It really pisses me off badly. So, as we've talked about previously on the show, we're at the music segment. Now, unfortunately, the music segment kind of sucks for everybody on YouTube because I've already gotten 2 strikes, kind of don't want a third, and YouTube, you're asshats. I mean, really, you are. I mean, I could play anything. I've played Let's All Go to the Lobby, which is like 50 years old, and you still hit me for a violation. I've played random stuff. I played stuff that you can listen to anywhere else. I'm not monetizing, yet you give me a strike, especially when I bitch about it and send you an email. That's shitty. But unfortunately, you're the only game in town right now that's really worthwhile. And if somebody else comes along, I am so done with you guys. Oh, YouTube, straighten out your shit, man. You're as bad as Twitch. You guys just don't know how to regulate anything. You ban people or fine people for no reason. You don't really give explanations. Your rules are very murky as to what you can and can't do. I've played my own music and gotten banned and got a takedown notice. It's my own music. I created it. It's not even real music, man. It's just fucking beats. And you tell me to take it down. That's bullshit. I argue with you, and you still call me bullshit. Anyway, look, I don't want to go on another rant, which I already did. So, in the music segment, YouTube, sorry, it's not going to be there. I apologize. For the podcast listeners, enjoy the music this week because you guys get it all you want. And what we're doing this week is we're going to do a band called Stand Atlantic, and the song's called Shh. Band's out of Australia. It was formed in 2012. I like it. Again, everybody knows, and I get email on it, and I get DM'd on it all the time about what a sucker I am for female singers. Yes, I am a sucker for a female rock and roll singer. 100%. I absolutely am. I love seeing it, love hearing it. I just do. I think it's great. So everybody sit back, relax, and listen to Stand Atlantic. On the other side, we get into some stick style, and for what it's worth, video guys, be right back as I take a quick break. Welcome back. That was Stand Atlantic. Shh. So hopefully you had, if you were watching the video, it was great. You get to see me what I do usually in between. Well, I didn't go to the bathroom. So it's usually for me and FreeMo, what we do when the song is playing is usually go get our drinks. If you smoke, that's when you go smoke, whether it's a cigarette or what have you. And then you basically try to make it to the end of the show. So, like, you'll go chug a beer. FreeMo usually chugs 2 beers. And then the alcohol takes a few minutes to hit you, so you're kind of waiting. And you just see what happens. But that's just the way it goes on the show. Let's get into some fun stick-style news.
Gaming.
All right, so let's look at your GPU status. I don't even have jingle for that, and I really should at this point because I can run that shit out until 2022. So the GPU status for this week is you still can't get none. You can't. You're not getting any. And even if you can find one on eBay for short money, it's probably out of China, and especially if it's out of China, there's a very good possibility it was used for bit mining. And if you get a card from bit mining, it might smell burnt because it probably is. What a lot of people do is they'll use these high-end graphics cards for bit mining. That's for Dogecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever you want to use for digital currency. That's how you mine it, is using these powerful cards, usually many of them. If you look on eBay, it's pretty interesting, actually. If you look on eBay, you'll find mining rigs, they're called. They're pretty incredible. They're giant boards that have, like, I mean, they vary. But let's just say, imagine 6 graphics card slots. You know, spot for maybe 2 processors in some boards. It really depends on what you're doing. And people just buy up these cards. They use bots or whatever they can. They'll buy like 3, 4, 5. And now they're actually, some of them will sell rigs and stuff with an average bit mining percentage per hour. So you can actually maximize it. I've seen ones that use flash memory all in a row. It's just amazing the stuff that they do. So you're not getting a GPU. And if you can anytime soon, be very, very cautious. As we said on the show before, be very cautious. If it's a bit mining card, it's going to do like half the speed. Now, you might sit there and have a little shitty like 780 card in your computer or something, and you know, you can't even get, you can barely get 60 frames without the thing sweating and you throwing a fan on it and maybe liquid cooling it. That's all great. But when you buy a new card, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm getting 120 frames with this 3080. Might seem great to you, but in actuality, you should be getting some like 280 frames on that game that you're playing. That's just the way bit mining just destroys cards. It's unfortunate. So you're not getting one, or you shouldn't get one. But you know who is getting one? The dude named Max Hayden. This little son of a bitch. Wait till you hear this. It's hard to get. I mean, you can't really get mad at him. He's 16 years old. And what he did was, for the past 18 months, he's been reselling stuff on Amazon or eBay, I think. But he's buying a lot of stuff on Amazon. And how apparently it got started for him was he basically got lucky. He has, I don't know if he had a credit card or it didn't really specify. I'm assuming he got them. He's 16, so I'm assuming he got either saved the money or got the money of his parents. Now, you may think that this is a wonderful story about the one red paperclip. If you don't know that story, look it up. Somebody traded a red paperclip for, I think, a house was the final goal, and he did it. So look into that, because it's a very interesting story. Red paperclip for a number 2 pencil, a number 2 pencil for a stapler for, that's how you're trading up. What Max did at 16 was he ended up reselling Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, Pokemon cards, anything he could to the highest bidder during the pandemic. And he made a little bit of cash. So, like, for instance, the Xboxes and stuff, they usually go for $500 retail. He was selling them for like $1,100. So you're literally doubling your markup. He's not exploding stuff like some of these guys are doing, but he's legitimately getting double his money back. He currently has made about $110,000 profit from clicking on some buttons and calling the post office to come pick up some shit. It's really what he's doing. Maybe have his parents or himself drive down to the local FedEx or UPS store and drop off your shit. Just absolutely brilliant. He ended up making, like, the transactions I read that he did ended up being like $1.7 million in transactions, but his profit was basically $110,000. So he didn't make a shit ton of money, but that's $110,000 over 18 months for not doing shit. Nothing. And one thing he wasn't selling, though, was Nintendo Switches. Apparently, those were like damn near impossible to get. I remember during the pandemic, it was bad. And you could tell all the rich, uppity people that had kids that were home for a change and cramping their style, they were quick to come out and get them some Nintendo Switches put in front of their kids' faces. I can't tell you how many parents I know of and have seen at my place regularly that sit there and used to say, you know, my kids don't play games. I don't feel it's something. I want to educate them. I want them to read. I'm all for that. My mother made me read all the time. I didn't play video games. I was reading books. And I do miss it. I still read really good shit. But Nintendos are completely different. And these people are like, they're never going to do that. Well, you got a Nintendo Switch, didn't you? Because you were fucking pissed off and ready to pull your hair out. The Nintendo Switches aren't really in demand right now because there's a lull. Everybody that had during the pandemic that needed one or wanted one got one. Either they got a regular Switch or they got a Switch Lite. And now they're just not in demand because a lot of the gamers or the people, the Nintendo people that have been waiting for this thing, they're still waiting. They've all been waiting for like the Pro. So Nintendo teased a Switch Pro, which was kind of cool. Everyone's like, "Yeah, Switch Pro, finally." They were expecting that this was going to be their dream unit, maybe 4K, 1080p, 1080 when it's docked. There was so many other things. They didn't get any of that shit. Nothing. Nintendo announced their new Nintendo, basically just OLED. So it's not more powerful at all. It's a fraction of an inch bigger. The screen is in relation to the bezel. It's like a 0.8 is an eighth of an inch bigger, and it's an OLED screen. It's got a better kickstand too. Oh, and an Ethernet port. Why you would want? Well, I understand why you would want an Ethernet port if it's docked, but if it's not docked, it's kind of a wasted port, don't you think? And the kickstand, I mean, okay, thank you. You just roll up a shirt or something like I see everybody else doing to lean the thing back to your proper desired angle. But hey, if you give me a better kickstand, why not? There was cases that had better kickstands. So I don't know. Another thing that looks pretty cool, and I was actually surprised, was Xbox Cloud Gaming was dropped finally for iOS. I've been watching this for a while, and FreeMo busts my balls about it all the time when we talk on the phone because I want to play it on my Apple devices. I am an Apple fanboy. I've admitted it 100 times here. I have a PC, and I just want to add that all the problems that I've had with audio and shit, even with FreeMo, have all been related to the PC. People can say whatever the hell they want. It's related to the PC. All the podcasts I've done on the Mac have been flawless. In fact, now that I got my new Mac, I'm thinking about switching back over there to doing the podcasts because there was never a problem. There was never a freaking problem. Drives me crazy. So the Xbox Cloud Gaming is free to Xbox Live Ultimate, Game Pass Ultimate. Yeah, I don't even know what they're going to call it now. I know they're thinking about doing away with Xbox Live, but Xbox Ultimate, let's just call it Ultimate. So the Ultimate is what you want, and that's $15 a month, and I'm telling you, it is worth it. Not only do you get a lot of games, not as many, I don't feel as many quality games as you get on PlayStation Now for the PlayStation, but I do feel that you get a very good amount. But the benefit that I feel to the Ultimate Game Pass is that you also get it on your PC. So if you have a PC, you can download the Xbox app, and you can get all the games that you want right there on your Xbox app. And a lot of them, Halo, Gears, they're all downloadable on the computer for free, and you can play them on your computer. So if you have a pretty decent computer, you can actually get better frame rates and shit right off there. So it's actually kind of cool. You can also play, and the thing was that you can, with the cloud gaming, it was on Android pretty much only. And people were talking about it, but not many people were talking about it, which made me wonder what was going on. I was waiting to hear about it on Apple. But, of course, with all the shit with Epic and Fortnite on Apple, you're not getting it anytime soon. Apple wants their $30 or 30% every single time, and I think it's wrong. Even as an Apple fanboy, I think I'm calling bullshit. I think it's, you know what? I have a sound for that.
Bullshit.
I absolutely think it is because it's very much Apple trying to be the trillionaire company yet again, and it doesn't need to be the trillionaire company. I think it's obscene that they want 30% of transactions. You're not vetting these things, okay? Look at their podcasts. I've downloaded podcasts that haven't been updated in 7 years. Why the fuck is it still on your platform? There's no reason for that. And games, oh my gosh.
It's such a shame you can't see what finger I'm holding up.
The games on the App Store. The App Store is great, or the Game Store or Arcade, that's what it's called. The Arcade is really cool the way it's set up. But a lot of the games, there's developers out there that you're not even vetting properly. There's developers out there that will take a game like a Flappy Bird type game, and they will create 15 versions of that Flappy Bird game to see which one makes money. And then they'll utilize that one and push that one and promote that one more than all the other ones. But they'll keep the other ones on the store. They're not pulling them down. You know, if you can get somebody in there, you can get an app with an ad, because that's all they are now. Play 2 matches, app or ad. Oh, let me play another match. Ad. You can play something like Breakout. And like after you finish that level, add another one, add. Let me finish this level, add. It's constant and it sucks. I play a golf game on there on lunch, and even that's annoying. I mean, granted, you're doing it, you're actually doing it. So to get free money or free coins or whatever to spend in the game, then you watch the ads. I get that part. That part doesn't bother me. I'll watch the ad. If I like the ad, I've actually downloaded a couple of games off an ad, and I'll get to that in a second. But I've downloaded a couple of games off the ads, so the ads are beneficial. Now, as for the games that are on the ads, that's another crock of shit right there. Because a lot of those games on the ads, you're looking at the game, you're watching the commercial because you're watching it over and over and over and over again, and you're going, wow, that's really cool. You know what? I want to try that. That's really cool. All I have to do is pull these stupid little things, and then the shit falls, and then I can get the gold, or the Minotaur's going to fucking eat me. Okay, cool. I'll try that. That never happens in the game. Or you see this zombie thing where, okay, let me get these 3 matches in a row, and then I can unlock this door, and then that person will help me before the zombie gets me. Well, that never happens in that game at fucking all. And then you're playing this stupid game, and don't even get me going. So I'm willing to watch an ad or two here and there willingly on a free app. If I pay for it, I don't want to see one fucking ad at all, ever. So to not get... So Apple, one of the biggest problems Apple has with their arcade is that, or let me give you an example of Netflix. No, that's a bad example. So anytime there's a game app, like say Origin, EA Origin, if they put Origin on the Apple iOS, Apple doesn't just want 30% of everything that's bought in the app. They want 30% of each game. They want each game to be its own game on the App Store and in the arcade, not a centralized unit like an Origin, because then they can't track what actually is going on, and they're not going to get that 30% of every single game and microtransaction. All it's seen is Origin, 30%. I just bought something, 30% of that goes to Apple. I just bought another game, 30% goes to Apple. I bought an add-on for that game, 30% goes to Apple. Apple wants the individual games. They don't want the whole thing, which I think is kind of stupid when you really look at it, but they have their reasons. And I do not agree with them in any way, shape, or form. So Microsoft's finally found a workaround for it. Now, it's still in beta, but it basically works off a browser. Once you have the browser, actually really nice way, it tells you how to make it and put it on your desktop. So I have it on my iPad Pro, newer iPad Pro, and I have it on my iPhone, and I have it behind me on the editing board, or on the editing computer. Excuse me, let me take a drink. I have it on the Mac behind me. And it's, so the first time I tried it, the day it dropped, excellent. It was really well done. There wasn't any lag, there wasn't anything, but I expected that on like literally the day it dropped. If not everybody's grabbing it, or not everybody hears about it at once, because they didn't make any hoopla about it. They just kind of like, hey, it's out, go ahead and try it. And I think they were doing that because it was in beta. So I downloaded it and it worked great. It worked great on all 3 platforms. Now, yesterday, when I went to go use it, it was awful on every platform, whether it was on your LTE, your cellular device, or on Wi-Fi, on the iPad, on the iPhone, and on the Mac itself. It was awful. It was unplayable, completely unplayable. And I usually judge this by like a zombies game because there's a lot of action going on and stuff, and you're moving around often. But today I tried it again right before the show. I just wanted to give it one more shot. And the iPad worked great. The iPhone worked great. The Mac worked great. The Mac is on a hardwire 1 gigabit connection. The iPad I tested on the Wi-Fi, which would be half of that, 400 megs. That worked excellent. The iPhone, same thing, excellent, same speeds. And then I connected it for cellular on both the phone and I shut off the Wi-Fi on the phone and on the iPad. And it worked great. There was a little bit of controller lag on the iPad, none on the iPhone, and absolutely zero lag on the Mac. I have a Mac Mini M1. My iPhone is like an X, and my iPad is, I don't know, the newest gen iPad Pro. And it worked really well. I mean, racing games is another one. I tried a couple of racing games. It works great. I have a controller adapter from, I can't remember the name of it. It's from Razer, though, that goes for my iPhone, and that works well, more or less well. I think one side's tilted down a little bit. I don't like that. The iPad works phenomenal. I've connected controllers to both of them via Bluetooth. They connect super quickly. They work great. And I have really nothing to complain about right now. Now, it is in beta, and it is a cloud service, so be ready for that. Stadia tried this with Google Stadia, and it failed miserably. So it's interesting to see how Xbox is going to leverage their position in this. But I think it being in beta right now is a big step. Do it in beta. A lot of feedback. When you quit the game, not just close out the app, but when you quit the game proper, hit the Xbox button, drop down, quit game, it'll ask you how your game experience was, and you fill it out. And by what I'm seeing in those different choices, they're really kind of narrowing it down. It's not like, did you have a good experience or a bad? Bad? Oh. No, they're asking, if you hit bad, there's like 7 or 8 choices you can do, and you can kind of drill down as to what the problem was. And from being a technician myself, it's a great idea, because then you can actually narrow down what's going on with people and then take a consensus. You can tell whether it's coming from an iPad. You can tell whether it's coming from an iPhone. And then with what the person's answering, you can tell when you leave the sort of feedback, when it's good feedback, you can tell whether it's laggy on the controller or laggy on this. Well, if it's laggy on the controller, then you got to fix your Bluetooth connection. If it's laggy in the game and the controller's fine, then it's obviously a connection issue. Then it'll ask you if it's cellular. It's not like 17 questions like a survey, but it's like, 2 or 3, and then you're good. Do that. It's a good thing. But I have to say, it's actually worth it. If you have an iOS device or an Apple device in any way and you play Xbox, give it a try. I think you'll like it. I think it's really well done, and I've been waiting for it. And it looks good. It looks really good. I haven't been able to check frame rates or anything, but I can tell you from just experiencing it and playing it, I'm not disappointed. I can play it at lunch. I can play it on a drive. I can play it on a train or on a plane. There's jokes here, I'm sure of it. All right, let's get into for what it's worth. Last segment of the show. So first up in the for what it's worth today is, so Trump decided that he was going to create a social network. Just like he said. He actually said it, and he's done it. More or less. One of his flunkies actually did it for him. It's called Getter. Gettr. It is actually internet garbage. Good to know, right? It's actually garbage. It's only been a few days, but Twitter clone created by former Trump spokeshole Jason Miller is already a dumpster fire. Right out of the gate, hackers scraped the service and got over 85,000 email addresses from Getter's API because it was just written shitty. The app is supposedly anti-China and pro-Trump on all agendas, which is really interesting. But it was actually created by a Chinese developer. The base code is created by a Chinese developer and then sold or purchased by this spokeshole Jason Miller. So it just, the levels of stupidity make me laugh and just keep going nonstop. And I absolutely adore it. It's just great. And the posts that have been shown online already are just more of the same old bullshit. Like, hydroxychloroquine works. I took some myself. Okay. My wife is on that. And I got really pissed off during the COVID crisis when former President Trump said that. And when Trump said that, I got, boy, did I get pissed off. My wife literally needs that to live. One of her many pills that she needs to actually live. So the fact that I went down to my local pharmacy, which is in a rich, affluent neighborhood, suddenly there's none. None. They're like, we don't know when we're going to get any in. Yeah, you do. You get them every week. You get a shipment every week. That's how this works. Go in the next week. Oh, we don't have any. Really? You don't have any? It was like 3 weeks in a row. Like, you don't have any? Seriously? I got to travel all around the state to try to find some, and you don't have any. I think it's bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. It has gotten, this app, Getter, has already gotten 1.2 million downloads. And I'm guessing that, 1 million of those are people that don't like any of these other people. Or hackers or are government agents. I mean, it's just, that some of those people are going to be government agents. You just know it. It's inevitable. And I think it's just something that you saw it coming. You wanted to see it. Here it is. It's there. Trump got his social media, and it's fucking awful, just like you thought it would be. Love it. So wrapping up this week, I'd like to touch on something I feel is needed, but is both misunderstood and allowing people to be taken advantage of on a lot of different ways. I want to talk about debit cards for kids. Now, we all have kids, and when we were growing up, it was all allowances. So you do some shit, some chores and stuff around the house, and usually the chores around the house would get you like $10-20, right? So that was all well and good. You got the $20. You did your chores, took out the trash, shoveled, whatever the hell you had to do. Nowadays, it doesn't quite work like that for multiple reasons, and I don't understand half of it. My age group really doesn't understand a lot of it. It just simply doesn't make sense as to why these kids are so like this. I mean, take out the trash. When I ask you, when it's full, it's that simple. You're going to get an allowance. So for a while, myself and my wife were giving the kids their allowance via Apple Pay, which is super convenient. But I've implored people to come out with some sort of debit card for kids for a while. I want to teach them the value, and it's good spending. Teaching them good spending, you can do it several different ways. So to teach kids good spending, you can do Apple Pay, which works out kind of nicely. You can do a traditional checking account, which I would not recommend. Be a good parent and just simply don't do that. Just don't. Kids are never going to use a checking account. Shit, you probably barely use a checking account at this point, if you even have one. I have a checking account, and I think I might have 2 checks. Most of the time, if I have to write a check because I need to write a check, which is stupid, I go down to the bank and have them cut a cashier's check. It's just, don't do that. It's stupid. And the other way is just to do plain old cash. Give and take, buy and sell. That's the way it works. Here you go. You did that. Here's $20. Bang. Pull it out of my pocket. Paid you. So the paying that. Now, if you do it the cash way, I feel that the way it teaches the kid is, I just did something. Give me the money. Or give me money for doing it. Now, it's everything's a double-edged sword. But this one is specifically a double-edged sword because now when the kid does something, anything they do ever for somebody, they're going to expect payment. And when they don't get it, they can get pissy. That's not really that great. Sometimes you just do shit and you wait for it, or you do shit out of the kindness of your heart. You shouldn't be expecting it. Now, I feel that when you get something digitally, in my opinion, it's more of a paycheck. Like since you first started working, you got a paid check. You didn't get paid in cash usually. Some of you did, but usually you didn't. You got paid in a paid check, and you got that check. You didn't actually see any dollars, but you were able to put this piece of paper into a bank and then get out dollars and then go spend your dollars. So I think it's good to have the paycheck. It teaches them how to earn, and we need to do this. We need to create this because they're just simply not getting this education in school anymore. It's just not there. My house, we love having Apple Pay. We use it all the time for just about everything. It's great. If you and your kids have an iPhone, set up your Apple Pay or Apple Cash, however you want to call it. And that will allow you to send money to and from people with iPhones. Super simple. I did it for lunch the other day with a coworker. He's like, "No, I got it." I'm like, "Okay, let me send you some money." And I sent him some money via Apple Pay. My kids are always out somewhere. Me and such just ended up stopping at a restaurant. I'd like to get something to eat. I'm kind of hungry. Can you float me $10, $20? Yep, I sure can. And you have a record of it in your text message, which is kind of cool. I personally, even being an Apple fanboy, I had my doubts on the whole Apple Pay thing at first. But it is a simple solution for parents. Like I said before, it's easy to transfer the money back and forth once you set it up. It's really easy. But there's definitely some good choices if you want to teach them how to not only, spend cautiously, but build credit or teach them how to save and invest. I know people I work with are very big on investing. If they have kids, they want to teach them that. So the pros to this is control. First thing is control. You can keep track of their spending and set daily limits on most of these cards. The second thing is security. You can monitor all their spending so you know what they're spending it on. And I'm talking, this isn't for like the 16, 17-year-olds. This is really for the younger ones. You have safety. It can be locked down very quickly if they lose it, or if you just want to simply lock it down so they can't spend anything when you tell them they're punished or something. they can learn financial literacy. They can teach the kids how to own money or how money works in real world. You can digitally pay things and stuff. And in some of the cards, you can set allowances, and it'll auto pay the child, again, their allowance. Now, if you're working on a chore-based thing, that might not work, but all in all, you can set that allowance and automatically give it to them, which is a nice feature as well. The cons, this is not a checking account. They're just prepaid cards. There's no checking account. There's no interest. There's no nothing like that. You cannot make large purchases most of the time. We're talking like $1,000 or stuff. You can't make those type of purchases, no matter how much you want your kid to understand. They saved up. They have money in their jar. I'm going to put it into their card. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And depending on the card, there may be a charge for an attempt that comes back as an overdraft or an overcharge. Again, this is going to teach good spending habits for the kids, so don't be pissed off. Like I said before, you're not going to have any interest. Also, there can be an age limit to it, so you can't just have everybody just joining up and staying on it forever, which I always think is funny. But I put a link in the show notes and give it a look. It's kind of interesting. Now, the reason why this got brought up in the show is because one of them, which I think is the best one, ironically, is called Greenlight. And Greenlight's an Atlanta-based company, and they were recently told that, or got out that you shouldn't get these cards because they're basically, they're selling your information and selling your data. Now, Greenlight, like I said, out of Atlanta, told Motherboard, the website, that despite what parents must agree to when they sign up for the app, Greenlight doesn't monetize or sell customer data in any way.
Bullshit.
So how exactly are you making money? Because everybody has to make money. And Greenlight literally sells you a card that you can put a selfie of your kid's picture on so you know it's their card. So why is all of this service and everything so cheap? That's what you're going to be asking yourself. Like I've told 100 people 100 times, at work especially, when it comes to life, if it's too good to be true, it probably is factual. When it comes to the internet, it's absolutely, if it's too good to be true, it's absolutely fake. There's no questioning, or should I prove it? No, it's not. How is something like this cheap? How are they processing all this stuff cheaply? Almost all of them do not allow you to connect to one of the major established money transfer payment systems or apps, like a Venmo or an Apple Pay. They don't let you connect to it. So you can't just take from your Venmo and just forward it over to your kid. You can't do that. And they almost never have a fee outside of a monthly fee. And the monthly fee isn't even that bad. How they're maintaining this is the question. If you're not charging me interest or an ATM fee in some cases, then how are you getting paid? How are you creating this multi-million-dollar company? How are you getting these great ads? How are you getting these processes with this card that's got my kid's picture on it? There's a lot of questions here that I don't have the answers to, and I don't like that. I don't like when I can't figure it out. It kind of pisses me off. All right, so that's about it for this week's show. I wish FreeMo the best over in Death Valley. I know that shit's hot down there. But that's it for this week, man. Tense down, show's over.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.